And welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I have a surprise for you. As I was alluding to it a little bit last week, I wanted to give like the drama time to subside before I put this on here, but today I'm going to give you part one of my interview with Angela Levin. Yes, you heard it right. I had an interview with Angela Levin. A couple of weeks ago, we started chatting and we had some great conversations about lots of different things. And she agreed to come on and do an interview, where I could interview her. Now, I was only going to do a part one. Well, not even a part one. It was just one video. And as you can hear, when she comes on, she says that she's only got 20 minutes. So I thought, okay, great. That's 20 minutes where I get to interview her. Wonderful. But as it so happens, we just got on really well and we chatted and the interview went on for an hour. So rather than me give you an hour of this interview, I'm going to break it down to a part one and a part two, because I know some of you have said that the longer videos you struggle with. I know some of you love them. But I thought, well, this way then you get 2 half-hour videos and you can go on and view them. So if you want to join me in this, then you should know what to do by now. And if you haven't, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss future uploads. It is grab your drink of choice time. And as always, I ask you to send in your videos. I try to include you as much as possible. The email address will be going along the bottom now. Send in your videos, and you don't have to be on camera. You can do it as a voiceover. You can do it as your fur babies, your family. Be as creative as you like. As long as you include the words, it's grab your drink of choice. Or if you want to add a little something, something, because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So here is the next one. And please give this person some love. And I will see you in a minute.
Hello, Bubble family. My name is Ellen from Long Island, New York. You should know by now it's 5 o'clock somewhere, so grab your drink of choice. Mine here, and feel free to add a little something, something. See you all soon.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good. I've only got 20 minutes, I'm afraid.
That's okay. I appreciate
I've got to write up something for Australia, and I haven't got anywhere near the end of it. So
that's fine. I completely respect the fact that you've come on and done this again for me. So anyway, okay, so I would like you to, if possible, just reiterate some of the things that were said, obviously, that I didn't record. And one of the ones was when you said about when you saw the sit down that Harry had with King Charles, obviously Prince Charles as he was then. So if you could reiterate that story, because I thought that was a really lovely story.
The positive story of that, yes. It's interesting that Harry seems to be very critical of his father, because not long ago, but just before he met Meghan, he was asked if he'd like to run the Today programme. This is a very popular programme about news in the UK. And he jumped to it, and it was said to him he can invite anyone. So, of course, he could have ignored his father altogether, but he didn't. He had his father, and there was an extremely touching time where the two of them sat opposite each other. It was gentle, it was smiling, and King Charles, then Prince Charles, made a bit of fun of himself by saying, oh goodness, you got so bored with me talking about climate change. And Harry would say, I did then, but now I'm older, I find that you're right on so many things, and I still come and ask for your advice, which I very much appreciate.
So it must have been a shock to you when you're now reading what you are in regards to Spare and a lot of the other things that are coming out in the mainstream media of the way that he's portrayed his father and the rest of his family.
I think it's absolutely disgraceful. the thing is, if he suddenly decided he didn't like his family and he had Meghan by his side, off they could go to live a life what they wanted. The late Queen Elizabeth didn't stop them. She said, by all means go, but they can't do it in a rush. The royal family can't do these things in a rush because everything is linked to everything else. So they needed to be patient. They didn't want to be patient, which is why they advertised it rather than actually told their parents. So Harry told his parents or his brother. It was really brutal to say that. Those nasty phrases about his father and his brother, his father's wife, Camilla, Charles's William's wife, Catherine, to sort of prove that the whole royal family were rubbish. Now, anyone who's got any sort of proper behavior would say they don't want to wash their dirty linen of their families. It's not right, and you keep that quiet. But a lot of the things that Harry was saying weren't even remotely true. And I'm sure, well, the inclination is that they said these things mainly Harry. Meghan would keep out of it, although I'm quite sure that she encouraged him. And they wouldn't answer back. You know, the Queen has this thing: don't explain, don't complain. But it doesn't work always, and it was very hurtful indeed. With regard to Princess Catherine, who we now know is fighting cancer, he would say that she's lazy, she doesn't do anything, she hasn't fulfilled what she should be doing. I mean, those sorts of things. Why say that? It's actually a desperation to improve yourself, but you're not actually. You're looking very, very poor, very, very wrong. And people don't feel sorry for you. People are angry.
I would definitely say that that's the majority of the feeling that I've certainly seen, you know, in regards to the mainstream media and social media. However, there does seem to be, because I want to talk a little bit about the Nigeria tour. Can you give me your thoughts on what you feel about that?
I couldn't believe my eyes, really. I couldn't believe my eyes. One, because of the clothes that Meghan wore. That's a bit of a silly thing to say first, but I think when you are representing yourself like that, you're very careful what you wear. And to go with a dress that had no back, just body, when you're going to a school where these who are studying there, where the pupils wear hijab and the women teachers cover their shoulders. That's how one should behave if you're going somewhere like that. But to turn up with your back bare, I think is very ridiculous. I also thought it was ridiculous that she said to the children that they could have her as a role model. When you turn up like that, I mean, that is doubly ridiculous, I think. The whole thing was phony. They were actually imitating what the royals would have done, but it wasn't looked at properly. It wasn't analysed. They didn't see the people they were talking to or the places they should go and the clothes that Meghan could wear. The other thing about her is that Harry was obviously of very little interest. She would pull him away if he was talking. She wouldn't move when several of them were lining up for a photograph and he was behind and the person on his left, was his right, wouldn't move. And he tapped Meghan to see if he could come in and be in the line. And she just moved around but stayed where she was. Terrible thing to do. It's small, but it's so obviously dreadful. I thought Meghan was shocking that she arrived late when she was co-presenting a time for women to talk about work and success. She also was dressed as if she was going to the beach. I thought that was shocking. And she actually said that virtually all the Nigerians she'd seen in the trip weren't at all surprised that 43% of her was from that country. And she said, because people like that are beautiful, clever, attractive, skillful. She's meant herself. I mean, you think, for goodness sake, a bit of modesty. I thought all that was dreadful. Harry, of course, had a very small job. He had to talk to the children about mental health. And obviously, not all of it was shown from the filming. But even to say in a sentence that if you don't feel good, don't worry about not feeling good. That's not exactly what he said, but that's what he meant. I mean, that's, what's that really? Nothing. And when he went to see wounded soldiers, and they were all lying on a bed which didn't at all look like a hospital, because there was nothing else but them lying on a bed. And one had a false leg, and he said, "Oh, just give it a name, it'll be all right." It was very distasteful. When there was "God Save the King" to be sung, they both stood there almost frozen, as if they were, made of plastic.
Not even singing. I know.
He didn't even open his mouth to sing anything. And obviously the people he was visiting wanted to be respectful towards the royal family in the UK. They've got no grounds about them. But actually, for Harry and Meghan, it was an absolute nightmare. And you could see it, particularly in Harry's faces. So all in all, I thought it was terrible. And I'm very pleased that people in Nigeria have asked for a thorough examination as where the money came from, who's provided it, has it come from the people, from tax, all that. I think that's shocking. But I also think it's a very bad representation of what they might want to do in the future, and go around all the countries and try and show how they're much better than William and Catherine and the King and Queen.
I absolutely agree. What is your take on, if you have one, in this Gavin, the governor of California, coming out and defending them in regards to the Archewell Foundation, Harry and Meghan? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I was astonished by that. I don't think people who are in Parliament should come out and say something like that. That's a personal thing. How does he know? Has he got very involved with them? I don't think he looked through all the paperwork on either side. It was much too quick, unless he's been involved before. And I think that you don't take a stand like that and boosting a couple when I don't necessarily think that he's been thoroughly involved in looking at it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were shocked in regards to that. Going back to Meghan, one of the stories you mentioned when we spoke last time was about the trip in Nottingham. Was one of the first times that you stated that you saw a slight different side to Meghan from the sort of, I'm here to be part of the royal family. There was a way that she sort of was with Harry. Would you mind reiterating that for me, please?
Yes, I was lucky enough to be in Nottingham when Harry did his first walkabout with Meghan, who'd just come over. I don't think they were quite engaged, but they were certainly not married. And it was freezing cold. And I thought Meghan was wonderful. She talked to the people up and down, lots of them lining and shouting, and thrilled that Harry had found someone at last who loved him and who he loved. And I thought it was quite extraordinary that she should be so relaxed with everyone and behaving as if she'd always done it. nonetheless, later when they went inside, or there was various CEOs for various charities, she actually quickly went in front of Harry. Now, it was very clear at that time that the hierarchy of the royals move in order. So, and that you never see Catherine or Camilla pushing ahead in front of the royal partners. But she did, chatting away, shaking hands, that wonderful actress smile. And I couldn't believe my eyes. And I thought, oh dear, Angela, rethink this.
Feel that in the way that you've seen Meghan now, going back to that first instance, do you feel that perhaps there, maybe if more people had sort of been involved in understanding Meghan's behavior, that maybe the situation could have been different?
I don't know about that one. I mean, it's very difficult to know what would be different once they've been done. I don't think she's keen to listen to do what she's told, or to understand what things are. I think she does think that she knows better than everyone, and she likes to be in front. But I don't know that a lot of people will actually have the courage to tell her, because she realizes that she's the one. You know, she does think she's outstanding. Otherwise, she wouldn't have said all those things in Nigeria.
Yeah, the one I will say, and obviously I'm going to ask you this, but if this is something that you don't want to be on the video, but it's something that I'm just personally curious about. The mainstream media, it feels like sometimes they don't do their research, because, and I'm going to say this because when it came to the Oprah interview, one of the things I noticed, apart from many other things, was that when they spoke about this, one of the biggest stories was obviously about the color of Archie's skin. Harry said, if you listen to it very carefully, Harry said this happened when they very first got together. And then when Meghan reiterated it, she said that it was when she was pregnant with Archie. I couldn't understand why the media didn't say this, or pick up on this, because then to me that would have thrown the whole thing out of the window, due to the fact that it was just two different stories.
Yeah, and I can't speak to anybody else, but I do know that you have to fill the paper very, very quickly, and sometimes people miss exactly the detail. And if you have to listen, as I did, I only had to talk about it afterwards. I was up all night listening to it. It was a very, very long interview, and you can't be expected to remember absolutely everything. Afterwards, you can go back to it, but by that time, it's too late. I would stand up for the press, but it is very difficult. It's very difficult to get it right.
Okay. I mean, it was just something that I, especially because it was such a big, one of the biggest stories to come from that interview. It did.
But it still is, isn't it?
Oh yes, yeah.
It's run and run and run.
And Harry has come out since and said, no, we never said that. So
yes, he did. And
so,
the interviewer was astonished, and he said it again and again and again. He said it was all the fault of the press. You know, there are a lot of false stories that they've said, false comments, inclinations. They're just very, very difficult to handle. And of course, papers are very careful about being sued, and both of them will jump to it at the slightest opportunity.
do you think that that is a running fear that kind of seems to go along with, especially the British press? Because obviously I believe that the American media is different. But do you think that there is definitely that fear now with the British press of how litigious they are, that they're worried about that happening?
Well, I don't know enough of the press to say what everybody's thinking, but you have to be very careful when you talk about Meghan. And it's actually not just Meghan and Harry. It's now, you know, you have to balance these things. So you have to get someone who wants something and someone who doesn't, and someone who approves and someone who doesn't. It's very complicated now.
Yeah, yeah. I want to ask you, it's a bit of a jokey thing. I spoke to my son about doing this interview, Tristan, and he asked me to ask you, can you recall if Harry had a favorite condiment or a snack that he liked to enjoy when you were following him around? Was there something that he liked to enjoy more often than not?
Never ate. They don't. They
Oh,
don't eat
really?
in front of you. They eat in between visits. They don't actually eat with that because one, it's not necessary. It's embarrassing, and they don't do that. And Harry and Meghan didn't eat at the buffet during the 3 days they were away. They would eat somewhere else privately.
Did you, when you were following Harry around in the time that you were with him way back then, was because you stated that he was completely different. So were there elements of him? So did he have something then that he was, because he seemed quite, if I'm honest, I mean, I have my own personal thoughts about the way Harry is, but just talking to you, is there sort of things that he would do that are just against royal protocol, that he would just act as if, oh, I'm just one of the lads and, just do things?
No, I think he was very lively, but I think he gave life and energy to the royal family. That's why he was the most popular one for quite a long time. And he would tease people, he would make them laugh, he would have quick responses to what they said. But within that, he was marvelous. I mean, he really was very good. As I have said, that he could make somebody who'd been badly wounded psychologically, physically, whose life they felt had totally changed, and they don't want to go out, they don't want to socialize, and he did make them feel better. I mean, I didn't stand right next to him when he was talking to ex-soldiers, but I would go and talk to that soldier after he had finished and gone on to the next one. And quite a few of them would say, he's changed my life, he's given me a reason to live. And they liked him because he was lively and encouraging and positive. So he was very different.
This version of him now is like a shell of the person that he was prior to when you sort of were around him or when he was in the royal family.
Well, he's not just a shell. I mean, he's completely different because he's demanding. He doesn't believe in compromising, it seems to me. That's why it's so difficult with his father. He was demanding apologies to Meghan. I mean, she should apologize to the royal family, but he wanted that. And he also wanted apologies for what happened to him way back in his life. Now, I imagine he had a list, but he would often he complained that in one place, William had 5 sausages, he had 4. I mean, to carry that with you for 25, 30 years and still remember that and still feel that it's not fair is very unsound.
And as a psychotherapist myself, I would say that given the fact that Harry is, I say allegedly because I don't know, had therapy, I find that also very shocking that he's still carrying this anger and resentment that seems to be following him. Because to my mind, that's something that you would absolutely work on, and also self-actualization of looking at aspects of yourself that you need to work on. But there seems to be so much blame coming from him all the time.
Yes, it's interesting because, I mean, some people have said to me that he's had too many specialists trying to help him. So it's not really come to anything. I don't know how you feel about that, but he doesn't seem to have got anywhere with it. In fact, when I was with him at one point, he told me that he now felt much better. He began to understand it all and he wanted to move on. But after some time with Meghan, I'm not actually blaming her now. I'm just saying after some time with her, he had, mental health issues after mental health issues. But one of the other ones he complained about was when they went to Scotland summer holidays with their father. He complained that William had more of the room than he did, so they were sharing a room, but he complained about that. So this is the whole thing about feeling a spare, that he didn't matter much. That's incredibly sad. But I think the things have been hugely exaggerated and make him turn against his family, when a lot of people would say, oh no, well, I had that. I had to get a queue behind my elder brothers when I was waiting for the ice cream. It's, you just have to get on with it. And he's had every chance to live a new life, what he wanted. He's got all that, plenty of money, but he still is clinging on to the past, which isn't a good thing to do.
I agree. I mean, I'm the eldest in my family, and it was the eldest had the bigger room. And if I spoke to my brother, he would say, yeah, probably wasn't fair when I was younger, but you know what, I'm older now, I'm over it. So yeah, there is definitely an element that it's normal sibling rivalry, but somehow that's transpired into this version of Harry now. Because in one of the conversations that we had before, you said that he said William was the one he could trust.
Yes, I was going to say that again. Yes, he said to me that William is, when they were sharing, they were both learning how to fly a helicopter at the same place, and they shared the cottage, which they'd never done before. And so they were with together. They had to wash up. They had to, dry out who was doing what. But he said that he was very, very close to William, and he could say anything to him, and they understood each other.
So one of the things I did ask Angela, which which I took out of the video, but she was okay with me speaking about this, just in a brief. A little while ago, if you remember, one of the interviews that she did with GB News was taken down. And there was a lot of speculation on why that video was taken down. I did ask her about this in one of the chats that I had. This wasn't on the interview, but it was in one of the chats that I had. And she did state to me that it was because of that she mentioned Mike Tyndall. So when she did the interview, she thought she had her sources correct, but unfortunately she found out later that it wasn't. And so that interview got removed. It wasn't anything to do with anything else. And so, because obviously I wanted to come back here because I did do a video on this, and I want to say that at the end of the day, she's human. She's allowed to make mistakes, and I have a lot of respect for her for even owning up to that, because that's not always an easy thing to do. So I will say that I thoroughly enjoyed talking to her. I felt that we could have chatted for a very long time. It was at one point at the end of the sort of coming up to an hour that I noticed we'd been talking for an hour, and I was the one, which you might hear in part 2, where I shut the interview down because I just thought, gosh, she's got stuff to do. She's been chatting with me for an hour. And so I was the one that sort of said, I'm going to have to let you go, because obviously time is getting on. And she's like, oh yes, I've got to go. But she was an absolute joy to interview. She's lovely. And I think sometimes when you see from my perspective, when I see somebody on TV, you sometimes may have an idea of who they are. I just thought she was lovely. There's not really anything else to say about that. I mean, I thought I could have chatted to her for ages, and I'm sure that we will chat again. So yes, if you have enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up. If you like what I do here and you don't want to miss future uploads, then think about subscribing to my channel. If you would like to treat me to a cuppa because you are liking what I do here, or you're wanting to support my giving free therapy to people who struggle financially, then you can. The link is in the description box of every single video, but it's also a little icon above the subscribe button, I believe. You can also join up as a member there if you so choose. I am also on other platforms, so you can go across and join me there. Now, I will say that Instagram is probably the better one to follow if you haven't seen me over there, because I do a lot of where I put a lot of posts up that are outside the videos, and there's a bit more personal interaction that you can have. So go across and follow me there. For those of you who don't know, I have just started my true crime channel, which I am really, really excited about. This is a huge passion of mine. I've been wanting to get this off the ground for I don't know how long, but I've just been so down the Harry and Meghan rabbit hole that I've just not found myself time to get this channel up and running. I've just done the intro video to it. I've just done my tiny little intro video that I put in every single video. I've added that there and asked for your feedback. So if you want to join me, if true crime is your thing, if you want to delve into not just the minds of these people that do this type of thing, but also how the effects of people that are victims or survivors of a crime that's happened. I'm going to be delving into everything from the smallest crime to the biggest crime. So if this is your bag, if this is something that you would be interested in, then please go to the end of this video and you will see a circle which will have coffee and crime on it. Click on that and that will take you straight through to my channel, and you can subscribe there so you don't miss the uploads that I do. I also have a PO box if you want to write to me and send me something. You can email me. Just anything that you need is in the description box below. Go and check that out. So in the meantime, as always, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week, and I will see you in part 2, which will be coming later in the week. So as always, I love you, I appreciate you, but most of all, I respect you. Take care. Bye-bye.